Last week, I constructed the jib for my Haven 12.5. Today, I turn my focus to completing the Gaff mainsail. As I did with the jib, I began by unrolling the pre-cut parts from the Sailrite kit. As with all Sailrite kits, it comes with complete step-by-step instructions, and I recommend you read all the way through them completely before you start construction. This kit has more patches and parts than the jib, as the Gaff is four-sided and has reefing points added. Well, you can see I've got all of the sail parts laid out now, and I've also laid out where each of the patches go. One at the head, one at the tack, and one at the clew. There's also one that goes up at the throat where the gaff would meet. There's additionally two other patches, and they are for reef points. So their reef points will go along here. They're about in this spot right here, and they're all marked out. Now, reefing is so that you could reduce the sail surface when you're sailing. So basically what you do is you would roll up this part of the sail so that you would only be using that upper part. So that'll also require some patches that go in there to reinforce where those reef points are. So what I'm going to do is get started is taping or gluing the patches for the tack, clew, and the head. After watching several Sailrite videos, I learned that the patches can be basted together with spray adhesive. I use 3M77 multi-surface adhesive. With a light mist of adhesive, I was able to assemble all of the patches. This seemed to be a more efficient method than using basting tape. I then adhered the patches to the panels. Once that was complete, I stitched each panel seam. It's important that the largest patch is on the outside, trapping the smaller patches between it and the sail pattern. Each patch was then sewn with a single zigzag stitch. So if we look here real close to the sail plan, what I've already done now is I've put the patch for the clew and for the head on, and also the one for the throat. Now, I haven't added the other ones because the tack patch will require panel 2 and 3 to be sewn together before I can do that. So there's a number of things that need to be added to this sail that it's much easier to do while the panels are separate than they all be sewn together. And those are a couple of things. One being there's all of these reef points along here. Now, these reef points all require a little square patch in order to reinforce them. The other thing is there needs to have these patches need to be lined up in line. So when I've laid them out, I've noticed that the bottom of it is just a little off, so I'll need to adjust that. Now, the other thing there are 3 battens that go in here. So those batten sleeves will also be easier to attach when these panels are separate. So once I get all of those things put on, then I can start assembling the panels. And of course, I'll start with the panels that I'll need to put a patch on first. After I'd adhered all of the patches together, I got started with the reef patches. These patches aren't pre-cut. As per the instructions, I cut two 3-inch square diamond patches for each intermediate reef point from the scrap sailcloth that was included with the kit. The 2-layer patch is to be positioned at each plot point, as shown in this diagram. To aid in their positioning, I used a pencil to extend the plot point beyond the 2 corners of the patch. The X that I drew in the center indicates where the grommet should be placed. I then stitched each patch on using a single zigzag stitch, making sure I backstitched for added strength. So the next thing that needs to be done is to make some pockets for the battens. And this particular sail has 3 battens in it. So the instructions show very clearly what size the pocket needs to be made, which is what I have followed those dimensions, and I have my batten pocket here now. So it also has a little piece of elastic that will go down in this end. So the first thing I need to do is put a 1/2-inch hem on the leech side here and a 2-inch hem on this narrow side. So I've got my 2 seams sewn on there now. Now the next thing is take this 4.5-inch piece of elastic and to come in 4 inches, where you can see I've made a little mark there. And I've already put some basting tape on the back side of this. And so now I need to stitch that on there like that. So now I've got my elastic sewn onto my batten pocket. And so now the next step is to line it up with the leech edge here and with the mark for the batten here. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a loop out of this elastic like that. So I need to attach that to the sail at this point here. So I'll make a little mark where that should go. So now I've got that sewn on there. It's now a matter of taking the pocket here, and I will put some basting tape around the outside edges and then sew that down. Now one of the things I'm going to do is out here at the leech, I'm only going to sew so far because eventually this hem will have to come in over like so, and I want to be able to have that pocket open. So I'm only going to sew fairly close to that, like about right here. So now I've got the pocket all sewn on there, and what will happen is once this is hemmed over here at the leech, then I will continue and sew here around so far and up to here, leaving an opening. And then how this works is that the batten will go in here and get caught on that elastic, and then it'll be pushed in and basically lock itself in then against those stitches. So that will be finished up once I get all of the panels sewn together. After the batten pockets were sewn on, I could then start working on attaching panels 2 and 3 together. I had realized that the stage in this parish hall that I'm working in was exactly 30 inches, the same height as the tables. So it was really a fantastic place to lay out the sail as an infeed table. If you missed the last episode, I showed where the Eureka Christian Church allowed me to use their parish hall as a sailing loft. I was then able to add the patch at the tack. All of the panel seams got 2 rows of zigzag stitches. Once all of the panels were double stitched, I then did a double folded hem along the leech. The head, luff, and foot of the sail gets a bolt rope. The first step is to sew a 3-inch Dacron tape to all 3 edges. I used basting tape to temporarily hold the rope in place. The bolt rope needs to be continuous, without breaks at the throat or the tack. After 2 rows of zigzag stitches, I switched to a zipper foot to run a straight stitch along the bolt rope. I then cut off the extra at the head and the clew. I then secured the boat rope at the sleeves of the 4 corners: peak, throat, tack, and the clew. I whipped these ends with a sewing needle and some waxed twine. I then stitched back down to the original starting point. At the end, I pushed the needle under a loop or 2 and pulled tight to finish my work. The finished hand stitch should look like a series of X's when viewed from the front of the luff. Each of the sail corners should be dressed with pearl gray leather that was provided in the kit. I pre-punched the leather with my awl on the inside seam, leaving about 1/4 of an inch between each stitch. The inside edges of the leather is fastened to the sail with a simple flat stitch. I used waxed Dacron sail twine, doubled, and a sailmaker's needle to fasten the leather to the sail. On the outside edges of the leather, I used a baseball stitch in order to pull the 2 leathers tight together. A number 5 grommet is attached at the tack, the clew, and at the peak of the sail. The throat of the sail gets a very simple leather dressing, and it too is fastened with a flat stitch. It also receives a number 5 grommet. A number 1 grommet is then added along the head, the foot, and the luff of the sail. At the leech and luff reef points, a number 5 grommet is added. And at the intermediate reef points, a number 1 grommet is added. So there they are. The sails are all complete. Now the next thing is to get some of the rigging done on the boat so that I can hang them on the boat and see how it works out. I must say this was an incredibly enjoyable process. I really enjoyed this. It really was a nice break from some of the other things that I've been doing. One of the things that is great about it was that it's extremely cold out these past 2 weeks. And this was really a great indoor project where it was a nice temperate environment in order to build the sails. So as always, thanks for watching, and remember, if you're going to make it beautiful.